Hello and welcome to our Flip video lesson 2.03, Fight for Power. And the recordings will be here on this page once they post in the PDF. Learning objectives of this lesson. Describe important changes that took place in Rome after the end of the Punic Wars. Describe the main events and leaders of the Punic Wars. And recognize the main cause of the Punic Wars and who fought them. Table of contents. Introduction. More power, more war. Seems to be an ongoing theme with history. Student guide questions. Student guide pages 313 to 314. You will need an extra sheet of paper to write on. There's not much space in your student guide to write down what we need to get down. So you may want to go ahead and grab a quick piece of paper so you can write some things down that you will need to have. And then important vocabulary, we'll go over some vocabulary you'll need to know for this lesson. And then your Human Odyssey reading pages 358 to 371. Again, it's extremely important that you are doing your reading for these lessons to tie everything together. Introduction 2.03, Fighting for Power. Over a span of nearly 5 centuries, the Roman Republic grew in wealth, power, and size. By 264 BC, Rome dominated the Italian peninsula. But another power across a narrow expanse of sea threatened. Carthage, on the coast of what is now Tunisia, was the wealthiest city in the Mediterranean. As Rome gained control of Italy, Carthage conquered the Spanish coast and, a more immediate threat, Sicily, just off the toe of the Italian boot. A series of 3 bloody wars in 120 years settled the question of who would control the Mediterranean. Those wars brought changes the Romans could not have anticipated. Here we'll take a little pause and go into a video. It says 3-minute history, but this video is actually about 4 minutes long, and then we'll come back to our flip video.
In the 3rd century BC, the Carthaginians were the dominant sea power in the Mediterranean, and its empire stretched from Spain to Tunisia. Meanwhile, the Romans had taken over the Italian peninsula and had intentions to carry on expanding. But the wars began in Sicily around 280 BC, when a band of Italian mercenaries, the Mamertines, began to ravage the land. The small Sicilian state of Syracuse attacked them, so the Mamertines asked the Carthaginians for help. The Carthaginians obliged, but the mercenaries did not like being under Carthaginian protection, so formed an alliance with Rome. This new alliance put Rome at war with Carthage in 264 BC. The Romans marched into Sicily, defeated Syracuse, and forced them to become their ally. Yet, the Carthaginians, later under the command of Hamilcar Barca, held out despite numerous losses. In 261 BC, the Romans then set about creating a navy to rival the Carthaginians, and for the next 20 years, fought the Carthaginians at sea. Roman naval successes left Carthage unable to fund the creation of new ships, so in 241 BC, sued for peace, with Rome taking most of Sicily. The devastated economy of Carthage led to mercenaries revolting in the capital. It was eventually crushed, but the Romans took advantage of the uprising to annex Sardinia and Corsica. In the aftermath of the revolt, the successful general in Sicily, Hamilcar, was disgruntled with the Senate, so he marched an army into Spain and brought a great deal of land under Carthage control. His son Hannibal eventually took control in 219 BC and attacked the town of Saguntum, a Roman ally. War broke out the next year. 23 years after the First Punic War ended. Hannibal took his powerful army on land to Italy and famously crossed the Alps with elephants. However, he lost most of his siege engines on the Alps and therefore couldn't take Rome itself. Meanwhile, a Roman army under Scipio marched west into Spain. Over the next few years, Hannibal's army crushed the Romans in battle, notably at the Battle of Cannae, and devastated the countryside of southern Italy. So the Romans under Fabius Maximus avoided battles and tried to wear the Carthaginians down through a war of attrition. Meanwhile, the Romans were successful in Sicily. The Syracuse allied themselves with Carthage, and the Romans laid siege to their capital. The city held out for a couple of years thanks to the innovations of the famed inventor Archimedes, but it eventually fell in 212 BC. But elsewhere they weren't so successful. In Spain, the Roman armies were defeated and their commander Scipio was killed in 211 BC, plus they also had to deal with a new enemy at the outbreak of the Roman-Macedon War. However, the situation for the Romans eventually changed in 210 BC. Scipio's son, later Scipio Africanus, landed an army in Spain and took New Carthage, the most important city in the region. With it, he gathered a great deal of supplies and allies and crushed the Carthaginian forces in Spain at the Battle of Elypia in 206 BC. However, while Scipio Africanus was campaigning in Spain, Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, decided to leave Spain and join his brother in the Italian campaign. He arrived in 207 BC, but the Romans were able to intercept him from joining forces with his brother by defeating him at the Battle of Metaurus. Now the Romans had the advantage. The Carthaginian defeats resulted in political uprisings in the Numidian tribe, a powerful ally of Carthage. A young prince aligned himself with Rome, and Rome took advantage of this situation. In 204 BC, Scipio Africanus was deployed to Africa to unite with the Numidians and fight the Carthaginians on their home front. The Romans devastated the Carthaginian forces at the Battle of the Great Plains. Now the Carthaginians were desperate, so made peace with Rome and recalled Hannibal from Italy. However, Carthage quickly broke their armistice, so Scipio Africanus led his forces into battle against Hannibal at the Battle of Zama and crushed his army for one last time, ending the Second Punic War in 201 BC. Carthage was stripped of its empire and reduced to a small Roman client state in modern-day Tunisia. Rome was now the dominant power in the Mediterranean and, over the next 50 years, expanded its empire a great deal. Finally, in 149 BC, they turned their attention to Carthage once more, as they feared they could regain their strength. They declared war, the Third Punic War, and lay siege to the city. And 3 years later, the city had fallen. Rome destroyed the city, massacred hundreds of thousands, and sold the rest into slavery, ending Carthage forever.
Okay, you can go ahead and open your student guide to page 314, and this is where I said you're going to need that extra piece of paper. There's not much space there to write in your student guide. Question number 1, if you look on page 314, it's kind of hidden there, right under the read instructions. What was the main cause of the Punic Wars and who fought them? Rome went to war to maintain free sea lanes for its foreign trade and to defend itself against the threat posed by Carthage, which was expanding and had gained control of part of Sicily. The Romans and the Carthaginians fought 3 Punic Wars. And foreign trade is trade with other countries or other areas. And so this is where there's a lot of writing. So main events and leaders of the Punic Wars. And this is question number 2 under that read section, but again, there's no space to write this. So do have your other piece of paper out, and you can go ahead and take down some notes. You don't need to have this word for word, but you can just make some good notes for yourself so you have a good understanding of the events and leaders of the Punic Wars. So there were 3 Punic Wars, the First Punic War, the Second Punic War, and the Third Punic War. The First Punic War, the Romans, recognizing Carthaginian naval superiority, meaning that they were better and stronger, they improvised a fleet and a novel way of fighting at sea. Gangplanks with sharp spikes attached were fitted to the Roman vessels. During battle, the Romans dropped the planks onto the Carthaginian ships, and those ships were held fast while Roman soldiers boarded them for hand-to-hand combat. A fleet of Roman ships caught the unsuspecting Carthaginian navy off the west coast of Sicily and defeated it, deciding the outcome of the First Punic War. And then the Second Punic War, Hannibal, who was from Carthage, led a land army and invaded Italy through the Alps. The Alps were a large mountain range. He overcame the obstacles of hostile mountain tribes, harsh winter weather, and the logistics of transporting African war elephants through mountainous terrain. Hannibal's plan was to liberate cities and tribes under Roman authority and meet the armies of Rome. Hannibal devastated Italy for years in hopes of luring the Romans into battle. Finally, the Romans led a military force to Africa and forced Hannibal to return there to defend his homeland. The Romans were victorious at Zama, 50 miles south of Carthage. This war made it clear that Rome was the major force in the Western Mediterranean. And so when you see pictures of the Punic Wars and you see elephants, now you'll know why. Okay, in the Third Punic War, the Romans feared that Carthage would rise again to challenge Rome. One Roman statesman, Cato, the censor, led the campaign to destroy Carthage. Again, Rome triumphed, and the Romans made sure there would be no fourth war by killing most of the Carthaginians and enslaving any survivors. The Romans burned Carthage and cursed the site, decreeing that it should never be inhabited again. And so that was basically the end of the Punic Wars. But it's good to note there were 3 of them and 3 separate occasions of war. Some additional facts. So before and after. Some enjoyed riches and an easy life. Wealthy men bought up many of the small farms. Slaves worked the land on the wealthy estates, so many workers were left without land, work, or money. Romans had extended their dominion into Macedonia, Greece, and Asia Minor. Roman changes. Slaves provided free labor for wealthy landowners, so workers were left without jobs or money. Wealthy landowners bought up the small farms. Rome expanded its territory into Macedonia, Greece, and Asia Minor. The wealthy elite enjoyed great riches and an easy life. The gap between the rich and the poor grew, and the Romans adopted many Greek ideas. So that Romans adopted many Greek ideas, that's that idea of diffusion, right? Cultural diffusion, that exchanging of ideas. Important vocabulary: adopt and adapt. Adopt is to take something over. To adapt is to change something to suit your needs. Expand means to become or make larger or more extensive. Carthage was a Phoenician city-state on the coast of North Africa, the site of modern-day Tunis, which prior to the Punic Wars was the largest, most affluent and powerful political entity in the Mediterranean. Affluent means wealthy, powerful, political, very strong government and power. And then the Mediterranean is the world's largest inland sea. So you can understand why there was a need for control of that area. Reading pages 358 to 371. Again, make sure you are completing your reading for this lesson. Our quotes for this unit are coming from Confucius the Analects. So the gossip monger is the outcast of virtue. So you can think about that. It's a good quote there. Thank you so much for joining me today. The ultimate list: get more sleep, drink more water, get more exercise, read more, get more organized, clean more often, explore more, relax more, have more patience, forget doing more, and just try your best. Have an amazing day.